Welcome to Sports Beat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Friday, May 21st, and I'm Blair Kirkhoff. Soccer with beat writer Shaun Goodwin is on tap for today, and there is plenty to discuss. We break down Sporting Kansas City's impressive 3-0 victory over Vancouver earlier this week, and although Alan Pulido scored 2 goals in that game, Shaun's choice for the game's top player was someone else. We'll tell you who. We look ahead to Sporting's game Saturday at San Jose and to the KC NWSL's next contest on Sunday at Houston. WOSO and Houston met in the Challenge Cup, with Houston collecting a 3-1 victory. Also, we'll hear about WOSO's Jordyn Listro and her fascinating path that brought her to Kansas City. So let's get started talking soccer with Shaun Goodwin. Shaun Goodwin is with us. We are without Allie Trost this week. Had a scheduling conflict. Gonna miss Allie.
I always miss Allie whenever we don't have her. So I guess this is the first time since we became a regular thing as well. So yeah, I'm missing Allie Trost.
We won't make a habit of it. Hopefully we'll get Allie back on next week. Hey, a clean sheet for Kansas City soccer teams this past week. 3-0, the Sporting Kansas City defeats the Vancouver Whitecaps. KC NWSL comes up with a scoreless tie in their regular season debut. They played at Louisville. So let's start with Sporting. Kind of a fascinating game as far as I'm concerned. First of all, I need you to explain to me what Vancouver's strategy in this game was besides allowing Sporting to just score goals. They packed it in. This must be a team that just is built around the counterattack.
Yeah, I mean, just about clean sheets. It's the first clean sheets of the season for both teams. I'm used to talking about teams for goals for other teams, so this was a really nice weekend. But
right.
Yeah, Vancouver. I just feel like it's always kind of been Vancouver's memo, to be honest, ever since they joined the league since 2012. It's got to be frustrating for their fans as well, just because you want to see some improvement over that. I guess it's a 9-year span at this point, and they just haven't really improved. But yeah, when you look at a roster, you've got good players, but especially against more possession-based teams like Sporting KC, it just tends to be a counter-attacking style of play, with the end goal getting the ball to Lucas Cavallini, who is a great player. Came from Puebla out in Liga MX, and she's done well since arriving in MLS. But at the same time, when you have a player who's that potent going forwards and a team that can't supply him the ball on a regular basis, it's frustrating to watch, even for fans or other teams or journalists who, they're just watching the sport or whatever. So yeah, Vancouver couldn't possess it. Sporting KC basically pushed the ball up, and the centre-backs, they were sitting at the halfway line. You had Ilya and Fontas at the back. They barely had anything to worry about. I think Vancouver had 1 or 2 shots on goal the whole game. And one of those moments, I know we're going to talk about Fontas in a little bit. We have to talk about Ilya at the back as well, just because, he's stepped in with injuries, but a big part of it as well, as Peter Vermees said, he likes a ball-playing centre-back back there. Someone who can pass the ball, play with the feet, isn't uncomfortable in those positions, because when you're playing a possession-style game, and you're expecting to pass the ball around the back and keep the ball away from Vancouver, he was perfect for the job, and he did well. So dominant performance for KC. I think they finished with about 66% possession. Obviously 3-0. The result was never in doubt. After the 0-0 Louisville game, and then before that, I had the Liverpool West Brom game with Alisson's header in 95th minute. I needed a 3-0 game.
Let me just stop you there. You've watched a lot more soccer than I have. I was amazed by that goal. You just don't see that. That was incredible. No. And not just the fact that the keeper came up and did what he did, but the importance of the game as well. I mean, this was it was sensational. Yeah.
We're going to return to our weekend or our weekly segments of Stacks of Shaun or Fun Facts of Shaun. But yeah, with Alisson, that was 2 facts. So in all of Liverpool's history, since 1892, he was the first goalkeeper to ever score a competitive goal for Liverpool. So that's rare for a start.
Yeah.
And then in the Premier League era, which is since 1989-1990, when they switched from the First Division, he's the first goalkeeper to ever score a header. Down the years, some goalkeepers they've had, massive punts, the wings has carried it, it's bounced. and it's maybe a little bit lucky. But he's the first goalkeeper to ever score a header in a Premier League game. So I go to the doubling and down the Power and Light for games, and I'm there for every single game. So I was down there for 17 minutes, but I had to leave for the Sporting KC game right afterwards. And I was like, we're tying 1-1, we're wasting chances. I was just dejected. And I was just driving up to Children's Mercy Park and listening to the radio. So I'm still listening. And, it's 95th minute, and I heard a commentator say, Alisson's heading up going up for the corner. What if that happens, right? So if he scores, and 5 seconds later, I almost crashed my car just celebrating. It was insane. I wish I saw it in person, but I immediately FaceTimed a couple of guys I watched the Liverpool games with, Dubliner. So they showed me the replay right away, and I was just screaming in my car. I was in shock. I was not mentally prepared to cover another soccer game, so thank God to Sporting KC for giving me a 3-0 win, because it was easy for me. I appreciated it.
Yeah, 3-0 win that could have been 4 or 5, the way they dominated the game. So that's a great story. I find myself doing the same thing. I was following Twitter, and of course Twitter was blowing up, and 5 minutes later I saw a replay of the goal, and it was beautiful. I mean, if you didn't know he was a keeper, you'd think he was forward the way he.
That's the thing. He just walks into the box, and not a single West Brom player marked him. So he just, I think he just kind of looked around. I was like, well, if it's coming to me, I'm going to win it. He's a tall fella anyway. Big lad's got his head up there, pointing the corner, and it was great for him as well. I don't know if you saw his post-game press conference too. His dad back in Brazil died in a car accident earlier this year, completely unexpected. So it's been a rough year for him as well. So I think a goal meant a lot for him, and he pointed to the sky after his goal and stuff. So it was a very heartfelt interview after the game as well.
Yeah. Okay, so you covered the 3-0 victory, and Alan Pulido scores a couple of goals. But just reading your story, it seemed like you thought that Daniel Salloi was the player of the match.
Yes, yeah. People in a full 90 right off the bat. I think he's done a couple of times this season, but there's been times throughout this season where, he's been pulled off in the 65th, 70th minutes. But I think it was big for 2 reasons for Salloi. One, I think it's well documented his 2018 season. He got good club goals and boosts. And 2019-20, he gets 1 goal between the 2 seasons. That's all well documented. And we've talked about on this podcast the last couple of weeks, he comes out flying the start of the 2021 season, goal and assist. And then he kind of goes quiet for, I think it was been 3 games at that point, games 3, 4, 5. He was playing, he was getting good positions. And I mean, hell, he could be the top goal scorer in the league right now if he was taking some of those chances he was getting. He wasn't. And then finally start going, was it just a flash in a pan? Is this the Daniel Salloi that we've got used to? And then, he comes out in that game against Vancouver. 17th minute, ball comes across, had a great chance to go back post, great technique, but his volley, he puts it slightly wide. And again, it's people like, here we go again, it's Daniel Salloi. And then a minute later, he has a great one to Pulido, puts the ball in the back of the net. Opens scoring 1-0, and then just 5 minutes later, again, he's fighting in the box, great touch, great strength, wins a penalty, which Pulido puts away. And he's getting great positions. There's great link-up play. At the end of the day, he was essentially responsible for making it 2-0 within the first half hour or so. And then, Pulido has his great goal in the second half. Especially through the second half, Sporting is certainly pushing, but you were 2-0 and 3-0 up at that point. So it's not like you were going, for lack of a better term, balls to the wall. But Daniel kept playing well. He put in a shift. He plays a full 90 minutes. And what he did in the game, especially got span in the first half, despite Pulido scoring 2 goals. And his second goal, Pulido's, was a beautiful goal.
Yes.
I mean, one was because of a penalty Salloi won. And then, of course, Salloi opened the score in 2. So, great game for him. I think he needed it. And, just speaking to him and Peter after the game as well, just, Peter was saying to him and Daniel was saying himself that, just you put those misses behind you, it can be difficult sometimes as any player. But just look, there's always going to be a next chance. So just take the next one. And that's what he did. So, good on the lads.
Yeah, I like the prospect of a confident Daniel Salloi going forward here. Okay, hey, before we leave sporting, there's a report in The Sun of London take it for what it's worth. It's a tabloid paper that deals in rumors. And they have Johnny Russell maybe being the target of a transfer by, I think, 3 clubs. They listed 3 clubs for him. Possibility. I've heard Johnny Russell say that he wants to finish his career in Kansas City. I'll take it with a grain of salt, but it's always interesting to hear rumors. What'd you make of that?
Yeah, there's a few sides to it. The paper involved is again, I don't want to. I won't usually disparage another journalism institution, but it's a rag, and I won't get into that too much. But it's a lot of the Hillsborough disaster back with Liverpool in 1989, and what that newspaper did. And ever since, it's dealt in trashy rumours and stories. And in regards to Johnny Russell, I guess if we want to talk about that rumour itself, the 3 teams I've mentioned was Fulham, Sheffield United and Newcastle. Those are the 3 I saw. At the end of the day, Fulham and Sheffield United have been relegated to the Championship. Johnny Russell left Derby in the Championship. And now he's come to Sporting. He spent a couple of years here. He's become a key player. And obviously, he's the captain. If he goes back to any of those teams, you can argue it's either a sidestep back to where he was, or, heck, you could call it a slight downgrade in the fact that, he's now captain of the team. The only there would be obviously Newcastle's in the Premier League. Bucks, he's a 31-year-old winger going into the Premier League for his first time in his career. Newcastle's got a great plethora of forwards anyway. Callum Wilson, Alan Saint-Maximin, a few other guys. It's just... he was essentially struggles to crack that team. He'd be a bench player at the best, which, nothing against Johnny, it's just the quality of Premier League. And the other thing is, at the end of the day, he's Scottish. He's from the Glasgow region. It would move him a lot closer to home. But, as you said, Blair, he said he wants to finish his career here, which you always take that stuff with a grain of salt for some players. But, he's just been made captain of the team. He's imagining at sports and don't want to let go of some of his importance and his value in the locker room and on the field that easily. And yes, he's in the last year of his contract, which is kind of what's kind of making his rumours spark up a little bit.
Right.
But especially for someone of Russell's talent, when he's got 6 months left on his contract, he can start talking to a team. So you imagine Sporting wants to either tie things up beforehand or at least behind the scenes be like, okay, we'll get something done after the season ends. With everything involved, the quote-unquote newspaper involved, I'm taking it with a very, very fine grain of salt.
Okay, sounds good. As we mentioned earlier, WOSO came up with a scoreless tie at Louisville. The NWSL team plays again on Sunday at the Houston Dash, a team that beat them 3-1 in the Challenge Cup last month. I really enjoyed your feature on Jordyn Listro. What an interesting path she has taken to Kansas City. She seems pretty happy. Tell us about her path here to KC.
Yeah, I just kind of stumbled upon this story, I guess, in my research. When she first signed with the club in late March, I stumbled across the fact that she took a pretty large gap from playing soccer, and she was a medical sales rep in her hometown of Toronto. Nothing to do with soccer. She's Canadian from Toronto. She's with South Florida.
That's the connection that got her back to the U.S. with Orlando.
Yes. Now, she had a coach who at South Florida who was Spanish, had a UEFA Pro license. And basically, she went undrafted in the NWSL draft in 2017. So ended up going out to play for Tenerife out in the Spanish first division, the women's first division. She played 5 games there, but just she liked the soccer. But it was practice from 8 till 10 p.m. She didn't really speak much Spanish. She was lonely. She had to while away her days walking around Tenerife. And she said to me, "You can only go to the beach so many times." And she just got really lonely. So after 6 months, she had a clause in her contract where she could leave if she hasn't settled in. So she left ahead of Christmas, came back home, and she went to college. I believe it was with a business degree or in some sorts. Became a medical sales rep for a company called Stryker up in Toronto. And I think a US based actually. They sell medical equipment to like surgeons and whatnot to help with athletes recovering from injuries and surgeries and whatnot. So she did that for almost 2 years, and then she went back down to Florida just for a visit, got in touch with the Orlando Pride's coach, Mark Skinner, tried out, and she got back on the team. She played 3 games in the full series and then signed a 1-year deal with Orlando before being traded to Kansas City. And here she is now. She's played in several games. She played in, I think it's about 67 minutes or 57 of Kansas City's 0-0 draw of Louisville. She played in games of the Challenge Cup. So, yeah, a hell of a journey for her to essentially take what was, with COVID and all that, an almost 3-year break from actually playing. She was in the job for 2 years. She trialed out and got on the Orlando team in the preseason of 2020, and then COVID kind of shuts things down for about 9 months or so. So, yeah, quite good journey for her.
Yeah. All right, we need to get NWSL a goal this weekend, get them on the board. And so they're at Houston on Sunday, Sporting Kansas City at the San Jose Earthquakes, Saturday night, 9 o'clock. And we're going to take a break here. When we come back, you will hear from Sporting Kansas City keeper Tim Melia, who met with the media on Thursday. Shaun, great talking with you. We'll do it again soon. Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.
Our first question will go to Thad Bell with SB Nation. Thad, your line is open.
Hey, good afternoon, Tim. We've got San Jose this weekend. What do you expect from them, and how do you account for, a guy like Wando who just keeps popping up, scoring goals everywhere out of nowhere, it seems some?
Yeah, he's timeless at the moment, and he's just so good at what he does. He just finds little pockets, he finds space on the back stick, and he always seems to score the most important goals for that club. And it's impressive, and I love to see him out there every year, and because he's so talented and he's so good at what he does. But what we expect from them is a high energy game, right? They play the ball fast from back all the way up top. They're athletic, and they just go. They try to be more of a man-to-man setup all over the field, and they're going to put pressure on us all over the place. So we just got to make sure that we do a lot of what we did against Vancouver, where we're smart on the ball and we're moving the ball very quickly and almost playing those simple passes to disrupt them a little bit.
Question goes to Shaun Goodwin with the Kansas City Star. Shaun, your line is open.
Hey, Tim. Talking about timeless, look at yourself, mate. You're a little bit timeless yourself.
I'm not as old as Wando.
Not quite, not yet.
I just turned 30.
Well, just talking about that, though, just continuity in the goalkeeper position over time. It's probably the most important position, I'd say, on the field when you want continuity over a season, over several seasons. Just from your viewpoint of a goalkeeper, how important is that to have someone in there leading a team from the back for that long of a period of time?
Yeah, goalkeeper position as a whole, when you step back and look at it, is more about consistency, I would say. And I think that's one of the most important characteristics of a goalkeeper. I think every goalkeeper in this league is capable of making saves, capable of coming from crosses, but can they be consistent day in and day out and save a majority of the shots they're supposed to? I think that's something that I strive for, game in and game out, and something I'm still working towards. And I do think that the consistency of the goalkeeper in a team, he's an anchor back there and needs to provide that confidence for the other players.
Our next question goes to Greg Eklund with NPR affiliate KCUR. Greg, your line is open.
Hello, Tim. Good to see you back in action. Just wanted to ask you, and kind of as a follow-up to the answer that you just gave on the importance of the goalkeeper as an anchor. Since you were sidelined, what was your view, both of your backup and the back line, since there were a lot of questions about the back line going into this season? Can you give us your assessment to what you saw prior to your return to action against Vancouver?
First, I thought John was phenomenal. I think what people are forgetting is John was 19 actually when he played his first game. Now he's 20, but to show that maturity, to make some of the saves he made, his decision-making process was really good. I thought he was just exceptional, and there's only bigger and better things for him to come. Our back line, we've had a lot of rotation. I don't think we've gelled as a complete group yet, just because of that. We've had injuries, we've had games in short periods of time. So I think what you're seeing is a lot of depth and a lot of people being capable to play in a lot of different positions. And I think we're just working towards our goal. We're a team that wants to be a very, very good defensive team first, and we just need to build towards that game after game and game.
Next question goes to Shaun Goodwin with the Kansas City Star. Shaun, your line is open.
Tim, are you looking forward to the challenge of San Jose? Obviously you were out for a while, you come back, and Vancouver was, for lack of a better term, not really on the front foot too much. You weren't challenged too much. So are you looking forward to that competition against San Jose to maybe be challenged a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, every time we play San Jose, it's always a back-and-forth game with a lot of opportunities, and there's been times where there's been blowouts for going both directions. So it's a team that is going to get on top of you if you give them space and time, and they're capable of burying goals. So it's going to be a challenging game for us.
That'll do it for today and this week on SportsBeat KC. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Beth Welsh, Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Tip of the cap to Shaun Goodwin for stopping by and talking Sporting Kansas City and KC NWSL. Links to his stories can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, we got another deal for you. You can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. Sports Pass is the online version of the Star Sports section. You get all the stories that appear in the print editions of the Star, plus other stories that appear only on the website. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. And it's a great time to subscribe. Read about what's going on with the Chiefs, the Royals, the colleges, the soccer teams, and much more. How do you get it? You go to kansascity.com/sportspass2020. That is kansascity.com/sportspass2020. You want more than just sports coverage? Check out the entire Kansas City Star product, sports news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional national news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. If you're having trouble hunting down any of those offers, just send me an email, bkirkhoff@kcstar.com, and I'll get you to the right place. So whether it's a sports pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Monday with another episode.